This is the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen,
Greetings to you.
wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
the station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network, which is 27085 in Central California, listening for, talking with, and talking about the old tube radios, the vintage radios from 1958, the inception of the Class D 11-meter citizen band radio service up to 1978, and the manufacturers just stopped putting tubes in the radios. But we will be talking with that 20-year span of manufactured radios tonight. Our tube radio collectors hanging out with us, and they're going to share their collections with us. Questions, comments, and our digital listeners over at oldtuberadio.net listening in. We'll see what we can do. OTR standing by.
45.
And you are sounding loud, Paul. I'm getting my paperwork set up and ready to go here, and I just realized I don't have a current tube radio check-in list, so I don't have to write on a napkin or something. I'm going to jump out of the chair here and go pick up that list, and I will be right back, so don't go away, because I want to see what you're checking in on. All right, those watching the video see me trying to get through without knocking any wires off or pulling the headphones off. It looks like I did it. Looks like I successfully commandeered the paper I was looking for. All right, Paul, you are on. Tell us a little bit about what's happening in the radio room tonight.
Okay. I want to check in my Palomar Skipper 71B.
All right, from Palomar. Who's our Palomar fan? I think that's the station from Alaska we haven't heard for a while. That's Tyler, who has a lot of Palomars. I think we've got some of his on display. We will see whose photo comes up on the Palomar, and give me the model number again, over.
It's a 71B.
All right, Palomar 71 Bravo. We'll go back to you for a transmission, and at the same time, well, we've got a couple of years. Palomar Electronics, Palomar Engineers, Palomar Telecom. Let me go to Palomar Engineers and see if that's the right one. Nope, that's not right. So I'm assuming it should be Palomar Electronics. Yeah, there we go. And the 71B, do we have a photo? Yeah, we've got one from Tyler. We've got an ad from you. Let me show Tyler's radio, and then go to an ad. It's $389, an expensive radio, so it must have a lot of expensive stuff on it, over.
Yeah, he's got an amplifier on top of that one. That's it. As you can see, you can't see much of the picture, but that is the radio.
All right, and I'm checking out we got the Palomar, there we go. I'll try to send it on the video. And I see on the channel selector LSB, USB, and AM, so that was a upper and lower sideband too.
You bet, it's got everything. It's quite a radio. I'll go into it just a little bit here. I know you can follow up on a lot of good stuff with it. But I always had trouble with this thing in receiving. And probably it's not really the radio's fault. They did correct it a little bit while the next one up, but this thing's got all the stuff you can do with it. A and L on it, RF gain, and clarifier on the thing, and AF gain, the whole works, and you can tune it to a net, sir. And left gain, you can drop it back, and it clarifies, brings you in. It's a surprising radio. Yeah, you have to work with it quite a bit to get it going, but it's a real nice radio. This thing's also got mic gain on the front. You just key it up, turn the mic gain up. I'm running about, I don't know what I'm running on the thing, probably over-modulated right now, but it should be pretty close. How does it sound?
It sounds very loud. I don't think you're over-modulated. You certainly wouldn't want to add any more. You could back it off if you want, but I think you're good. I see a little bit of forward movement on the S meter, but boy, nice and loud, and a big signal. 13 tubes in that radio. I think when you got into the sideband radios, I think my Regency does it have 13 tubes, because they have to add a tube or two, I think, for the sideband processor. I see the radio will also go 12-volt DC optional, so it must have a special power cord for it. All 23 channels, the 71B. I'm going to pop over to the advertisement, I think, as well. But sounds, and it looks, what is it? Was there a Skipper amplifier, a Palomar Skipper? It has the same design as their amplifier, so I don't know what Palomar that is we're showing in the shot that Tyler has, but they have the meshing, was it a Skipper 300 or something that looks just like that?
Yeah, well, this one doesn't actually match the amplifier that close. It's pretty close. But the next one up, the 73, it matches perfectly with the chrome top and everything, exactly like the amplifier. I got one of the amps too. I haven't had it all the years. It probably blew up if I turned it on. But anyway, they're real interesting radio. And this thing was actually, it was kind of engineered, well, not engineered, but I'd say Herbert Johnson, as I know you know who that is, he had quite a bit of planning on this thing, had to get it going on the thing in 1960. They started working on the thing, and he built a lot of nice radios on the thing, as a Swan Electronics. So I know you're familiar with that man and all that. So it's a quality radio. This thing's got all copper chassis on the thing, and it's 100% hand-wired, and neat hand-wired. It's not thrown together in there. They did an excellent job on the thing. Quite an interesting radio. I love it. A very pretty radio, too. Back to you.
Yeah, I like the way it's laid out. It sounds great. I hope you'll get a chance to listen to the archives. You're going to be really pleased. And according to the ad, it says sold only through factory distributors, including, and it gives a whole bunch of the factory distributors. So if you're looking at the ad, find the one near you, or the one that was near you, or wherever you were at that time near you. $389.95, a big price back then, probably cheaper than the Browning, probably comparable to the Tram, although I think the Titan 2 was over $400, but it says under ad, compare specifications of the Skipper 71B with those of any on the market, regardless of price, and then they say price Palomar Skipper 71B with that of every imported, quote-unquote, imported SSB AM rig. And, of course, that is a direct challenge to the two that, or at least to the one which was the Yaesu FT101 series, which I think was, at that time, probably in the $600 or $700 range. So I don't hear a lot of these around. I think they would have sold more of them, but we're glad that you have one to check in.
This thing, it went to $400 in that area right there. So they were rather expensive, but not bad. Anyway, this thing's got a euphonic ceramic mic on the thing, stock Palomar mic. Nothing added to the thing. I'm backing off from the mic a little bit. I did cut the gain down. I hope it sounds better. I don't like a real loud radio. It hurts your ears. You don't need to have it that loud. I like it just like about your sound. I'm bragging on you. Back to you.
Now, I think you did well on the gain, because sometimes it'll get louder, but it'll get fuzzy around the edges. It just won't have a clean of sound. And that cleaned it up, but it's still loud. So if you're in somebody's noise level, you're going to be putting out enough audio, I think, to make it through. You are definitely not in my noise level tonight. Big signal and nice audio. And for those listening, and I don't have the wherewithal to have the S meter. That's what I need, is the video gate showing the S meter on the rig here. Paul is he's not in a local by any means here in Fresno. He's up in the foothills above Fresno. I want to say maybe 40 miles away or so. So that gives you an idea of how well the radio is doing. Radio number one getting us started off, the Palomar 71 Bravo, 13 tubes, and throwing in the upper and lower single sideband as well. 12AX7, a couple of 12AX7s. I think that helps with the audio. Power amp, 6AQ5. So some good tubes in there. Back to you for transmission, and thanks for getting us started off with a very interesting radio.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm going to bring his older brother out here next, the one they manufactured 2 years later. It's got some different things on it. I'll explain it to you when I get it in. But I'll be honest with you, I kind of like everything about this radio right here. It's got everything you want plus. Thanks, Dennis, for checking it in.
I'll agree. Mic gain on the front. Sideband looks like it's not too hard to set up. That's another thing they should put in their ads. Set and forget. No tune and load and all that stuff. You are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network, Real Radio's Glowing in the Dark. You just heard one of them, Paul, on the Palomar 71B from his collection. Let's see the Jingle Singers. Where are they? Where are they? All right. I'm trying to get their attention with the other studio. Stepping up to the Ribbon Microphonium, where they get to tell us this.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, OTR, looking for Radio 2.
Station.
Station, go ahead, over.
SWO 93 wants to check in this old Johnson Messenger 223 here.
Let's do that. You have come to the right place on a Saturday night. If you have a glow-in-the-dark radio, which indeed you do, the E.F. Johnson Company, famous for their tube radios, whether it was the boat anchor for 11 meters on not Class D before 1958, or the ones that they toned down to 5 watts after 1958, the Johnson Viking, Viking Messenger 2, and the one you're on, I think. Tell us about it, over.
This one here doesn't have the modulation light. This one does not have the modulation light. That's the only difference.
All right. Well, you know, we talk about let's first. I'll bring up one, and the one we're talking about is the Johnson Messenger 223, and we'll show it with a modulation light. I'll point the mouse. There's a light above, and I'm not sure what control that is. Either the volume or the scroll. It's what a pretty radio. A nice basic radio with lighted 23-channel dial, a really cool S-meter, big speaker in front, so I'm assuming you get some good audio on your receiver there. But that's the modulation light. Give us a transmission, and I'll find the radio similar to what you're talking on that doesn't have the modulation light.
Yeah, and I don't have the Turner Plus, the Turner microphone on it. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one that I have. And the microphone, it's black. And I think it's a Johnson, but I'm not for sure. It looks like a teardrop.
So it is not a desk microphone, is that correct?
No, sir, not a desk mic. It's a handheld.
Boy, that's really got good audio for a handheld. It could be. The Johnson microphones were typically square. At least the ones I remember were could be square. Sometimes they came with the static, we call them the ice cream cone style microphone. That's one I have on my Viking. So these, as you saw in the other picture, were sold or could be sold with the Johnson desk mic. My note says they were $199 without the mic. Why would you buy a radio without a microphone? $214.95 with the microphone, and it was the Turner mic, or this Turner style, I think, with it said Johnson across the front. Great audio. You don't don't need an amplified mic with that. It'd be interesting to see maybe with a non-amplified D104, a Shure 444 might work nice on that. And what you got is great, so you don't have to touch a thing. Back to you.
I know. Bill went through it a while back ago and tuned it all in, so let's just say I shouldn't have any problems with it for a very long time.
Yeah, if you keep checking it in once a week here on the Old Tube Radio Network, sort of what we like you to do, and that keeps the radio happy, blows the dust off the tubes, and that's our purpose here at the Old Tube Radio Network, doing a good job. These radios were produced from 1969 through 1972 by E.F. Johnson. This radio was a direct replacement for the Messenger 2. Basically, it is a Messenger 2 with 23 channels in it in a bigger case and an S-meter. So all the Johnson series, the Viking, Messenger 2, and 223, sound great, and they made improvements as they went along. More information is in Sam's PhotoFax book 23, page 53, but sometimes you don't need all that technical stuff. You just need to listen to it. Key down again before you go. Thanks for Radio 2.
All right, you're there. And next week I'll do another one, and we'll be clear.
All right, in the Old Tube Radio Network, here out of Central California this evening, beaconing your way with the tube radios from our collectors, also streaming live on Google YouTube at Old Tube Radio Network Live for July 28, 2018, and in your ear or on your Universal Media Net web device at the oldtuberadio.net. We are looking for Radio 3. And there is Paul, Mr. Falcon, once again. Do you ever see any falcons up there? We got hawks down here. You know, nothing big, but we got hawks here in the flatlands. You might have some falcons up that way.
I don't know. A friend of mine named me that way. He's an Indian, so I don't know what the deal is. They must have some around here somewhere. Anyway, I want to check in my other Skipper 70. This is a Skipper 73C, Charlie.
All right, back to Palomars. If you're a Palomar fan or had one at one time, this is the show for you, I guess. Let me make sure I click in the right number, because there's like 3 Palomars for me to choose from. And you have, is it the straight 73? Or I see there's a 73C.
Yeah, year 1973 when it's manufactured, and C like a Charlie on the end.
All right, I brought the wrong one first. Oh, look at that. We have, this is good. We're going to actually probably, maybe get a chance to see the actual radio that's keying up here on the net. Let me pop it in there. There's 2 pictures. I'll start with this one, and we'll go back to you for a transmission.
Yeah, it's a radio. You got it. That's my radio right there. A little bit better picture of the thing. You kind of make it out, but it's still like way you can enlarge it, of course, but it doesn't show this on the screen. But you can enlarge it and see all the goodies on the thing. The only thing that this one doesn't have is a mic gain, which I kind of like that mic gain on these things. Everything else it's got, it's real easy to tune. This thing's a lot smoother. So they did quite a bit. And that's one thing that they advertised on the thing. I remember saying that they have improved it quite a bit on the receive. I don't know about the transmit. I can't get anything more out of it than what it's giving me right here on the stock Turner ceramic mic. Is it sounding like the other one, or is it a lot weaker?
No, it sounds a lot like the other one. I was looking at the S-meter, signal-wise. It's nice and loud. I'm not sure if this microphone has a little bit more high-frequency response. And that could be just if it's the same style of microphone, just because aging the crystal, but very, very similar. Probably the best way to tell is to get into the archives and click back and forth on the player. But I think you're very close to the 71B in sound on this for sure.
Yeah, good. They made a good choice on putting this microphone on there. I don't believe it's stuck, but it might be. It's going to pee on the end of the mic, so that would sound. count for Palomar on the thing. The Turner is a little different from the Euphonics, so, but, you know, a lot of these companies change things right in the middle of the stream, as you know that more than I do. No, so these are really nice radios. Like I say, this one has the outer cover, which is chrome, that matches the amplifier that they made. When they started making it, probably about in the late 60s, when they made the amp for the thing. Roughly the same year that this guy here was made, so that might have been what they copied. Anyway, that's about it on the thing. I got nothing else on the subject. Everything else is about like the last one I checked in. Anyway, it's a different radio. Thanks, Dennis.
But another Palomar, the 73C, manufacture date 1973 to 1974, still before they changed over to 40 channels, which pretty much killed all the 23-channel radios and made everybody rethink things. Here's what an interesting thing I noticed that they did on the 73C. They changed to all 12-volt tubes. The other ones were mixed in their 13, the 13 tubes were mixed between 6 and 12 volts, and I noticed these are all 12-volt tubes, 12AX7, 12AQ5 on the audio output, modulator 12AQ5, 12AX7 on the mic amp, so might be some difference that way. So might be some power output, or easier to manufacture. Who knows why they did that? But 15 watts PEP, 5 watts RMS output, typically for a sideband. I think the FCC said that if you were 4 watts output, you 4 times the 1.414, whatever. Anyway, it's like 4 times your carrier power, so that would make sense to have a 5-watt input, 4-watt output, and 15 to 16 watts PEP, which is what they let you have for the sideband. Doing a good job, Radio 3 from Palomar, the Skipper 73C. Thanks for the Palomars tonight.
Yeah, thank you for checking it in. Yeah, the thing is, it swings real well. They had it built well. This has also got that same chassis on it. All copper and all hand-wired, very neat. Thanks again for checking it in, Dennis.
All right, thank you. You said it didn't have a mic gain. Is that it doesn't have a mic gain control on the front? Is there a mic gain control elsewhere on the radio?
Nope, no mic gain. They got it all set. You can't do anything with it unless you put an amplified mic on it, which I think they got enough internally that you don't need to do that with it. I'm anxious to hear them on the archive. Anyway, back to you.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I asked, because this has a similar volume, a similar modulation percentage like the other radio, but I guess maybe they just had everything turned up to a certain point, and the control only turns it down. Would be handy to have. If you had an amplified microphone, you'd have to have it cranked way down for how that radio is adjusted. So with that much gain, you start playing with the microphones basically for tone quality, like a 444 to give you a little bit more bass, or a D104 to give you a little bit more treble, and work it that way. But that would be a good radio to run with an audio board. Thanks, Paul, for Radio 3. The Old Tube Radio Network, we are here in Central California. Think of the old car shows, Friday nights at the hamburger stand, where you get to bring your old jalopy and park it in the parking lot and let somebody look under the hood and kick the tires and get it out on the road once a week. That's what we're doing here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Opening the hood up on our tube radios, kicking the tires or turning the knobs, and making sure they still work. It's a lot of fun. We hope you can join us with your tube radio.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, the friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And I wanted to make a comment. Robert SWL31 mentioned that to get his 1011 C and D Siltronics tuned, and we've been doing that the last couple weeks with Harvey. We might do that this week. I'm not sure what he's going to be keying up on. That he would use a walkie-talkie to monitor the adjustments, and that's how I used to do it before I had massive amounts of radios that I could plug headphones in and tweak with that. I had a Hallicrafter CB11A. I had a couple of those, a set of those. And once I got that was how I started out. It was a CB11A radios. And then once I got my big Radio Shack Navajo, it was like, well, how do I listen to my audio? And there it was. It was through the CB11A. And I can't remember if it had an earphone jack on it or not, because that's a better way to do it, where you can wear headsets and just keep the antenna collapsed and listen in. So you got to, by hook or by crook. Sometimes it's nice because you'll hear your actual audio as it's transmitted. Depends on the crystal filtering. Sometimes the walkie-talkies are really wide, so if you have a nice full fidelity radio, the filtering will give you all. If it's 12 kC wide, you get to hear it on that. Also, Stan, what did you buy new? Oh, he must be talking about 1974, the Skipper 73C, a distributor. Yeah, they were talking about their Palomar distributors. Stan, you were in a good area. You had the FCC monitoring station. You had all these radio distributors. Had good stuff. No wonder you know so much. CB Centers of America. I wonder if that's in that ad. I'll have to put up that ad. It was a hybrid since it used FETs in the front end. Okay, well, 73, 74, that was sort of what's happening. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to that ad that had all the distributors. I think it was on the 71. Skipper 71. We'll pop that up. You can take a look, see if you can find CB Centers of America. The Old Tube Radio Network. My name is Dennis. We're looking for Radio 4. And hello, Paul. Go ahead and step up in the air chair. And I just wanted to take a moment. I've been doing some other stuff. I haven't said hello to our stations listening in over at the video site, Old Tube Radio Network Live. Big Ben, of course, listening in from England. Yeah, it's 5:10 in the AM. The sun is just coming up. The sun is just going down on us. And the sun just coming up. So we're getting some of the the ancient valve radios. The mighty KUH, of course. Brian saying hello to OTR as he's in the Radio Shack on a Saturday evening, as he often is. Firing up the big iron, no doubt. The old and the new. He's got it all in his Radio Shack. And OBP. Kevin is online monitoring at the video display, and he says hello to Paul. So let me get two checked in officially on the big board. There you go, Kevin. You'll like that. And we'll go over to SWL 45. Thanks for being patient, Paul, and it's back to you.
Yeah, no problem at all. Everybody probably hadn't got in yet in the heat, or maybe they're hiding out. Who knows? It's been terribly hot and really smoky up here. So you're staying by the air conditioner, I think. Hey, let's change the radios around a little bit. I'm going to check in my Sonar Model E.
Sonars are good. They are always loud. There's another radio like the Palomar that you've been on where if you have the proper microphone, and the microphone they sold with it was usually huge element. And the audio was always good. And what is the model number on your Sonar again, over?
It's a Model E.
All right, let me bring that up. I'm not good on my models because some of them were more deluxe than others. Oh, we got a lot of shots for this one. Let's go with one of Cliff's great photos, the Model E. It looks like he's got a watt meter with that. So, okay, this was not a 23-channel radio. It was still pretty deluxe. But this was early on, where I think it was, looks like it's 8 channels and nice loud audio. Over to you for the transmission.
Yeah, that's Cliff's radio. Very nice looking radio. And he's got the meter on top of it, that add-on to it. Wish I had that. Anyway, his is really pretty. Mine's kind of an older, kind of beat up a little bit and banged around a lot, but it's still working. That's the main thing. Yeah, this thing was in Sam's number 2, so it was one of the first ones that got into the books on the thing. It had 9 tubes, 8 transmit crystals on the thing, and 24-channel VFO if you want to use it. You can use either the crystals or the VFO on the thing. And I'll tell you what, this has got a gigantic mic, stock sonar on it, and it is big. It's a handheld mic. It's the biggest mic I think I've got any of my radios. Anyway, I got some more stuff on it, but not much. You can probably fill in some more. Back to you, Dennis.
Yeah, who is it? Crazy Bob mentioned, and I didn't know they had a nickname for that mic. They call it like a piece of toast, or something that has to do with toast. So if you're thinking about a grilled cheese sandwich when you talk on that radio, it's because the microphone is so large. But it had that nice big element, and that helped with the audio. It's standard sonar. Can't remember if it's a 4-pin or not, but it's nice and loud too. So when you check out the archives, I'm going to swap. Oops, that didn't show up very well, but let me move it into frame here. And this is the inside of the radio, and you can see the crystals, 8 channels that Paul was talking about, looking down on the inside of the radio, and there they are plugging in the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you had to pull the top and set your crystals in there, and you are good to go. I'm glad you got channel 11 as one of those crystals.
Yeah. Anyway, this thing, it's got a modulation mod on the thing. It doesn't have a meter, other than if you buy one like Cliff did. But it's got the power. Micro stays on all the time the minute you turn it on. But the modulation light is glowing right now. Interesting radio. I like the little thing. It's not a big radio at all. I'd like to know who made this microphone thing. Do you have any idea, Dennis?
You know, I don't. It came up about 2 months ago. We had a sonar checking in, and the Crazy Bob, who runs the Vintage Radio Facebook site, actually chimed in and talked about the mic. So he might have some information on that. He is not. I don't think he's on tonight. He actually started doing a radio show, a broadcast radio show, on Saturdays again. So he has not been around. Yeah, a piece of toast, Mike. Thanks, JT. So maybe it was made by Langendorf. Wonder Bread. Who knows?
It's got a Model M2 on the back in New York, made by Sonar. So I don't know. That doesn't tell you a whole lot. That's about all I can get on the thing. It's part of the thing. Broken off the back, not broken, but kind of roughed off the back. I can't really get it real. The last numbers on this thing are not there. I got a mobile bracket with mine, which is a real pretty thing. Real strong looking bracket. This definitely would go mobile easily. And yeah, it's the same size as a general radio telephone, MC11A. So it's a pretty good size little radio. Heavy one for the dashboard, but the old cars can take care of it, as you know. Anyway, boy, that's about all I got to say on the thing. It's just a neat little old, and I know it's working.
It's working great here at 927, the Old Tube Radio Network, and I was just looking. An interesting function, the way Sonar put that together, is you could run split channel operation. The only thing you'd have to flop that switch. You've got a tune and a crystal. So when you're on the crystal, when you go to channel 11, it's running the crystal transmit and receive. And I'm assuming that when you go to tune, it's going to run the channel you have selected on the 1 through 8 for the transmitter, but your tuner is now your receive part. So I don't see a spot switch. You have to be pretty adept at figuring out where on the tuner, because it's sort of calibrated very coarsely to make sure you're on the right tuned frequency, or you could be transmitting on your crystal and tuned somewhere else. Some guys used to do that. The Brownings could do that, of course, where you could sort of stealthy contact by transmitting on one channel, receiving on another channel, and having the party you were talking to do just the opposite. And you can actually do it with that sonar. The Model E, I was looking to see if I had a manufacture date, and it's not showing up, but no, it's in the mid to early 1960s. Let me stop talking, and we want to hear from the radio one more time before you go. And there's one with the microphone. I wanted to get that big microphone in there. That's a big radio. The microphone is big as well. Back to you.
Yeah, the bottom right, that tune and receive, tune and crystal switch on the thing. I don't know if you saw that or not. I'm sure you did. You saw those two from the 12 over 6 volts, which I hadn't paid attention to it there on the last radio I checked in. But no, that's about it. I'll tell you what, it's just a neat little radio. Thanks again for checking in. I'll be listening. I don't know if we're going to get somebody else going here pretty soon, I hope.
We'll see. It's still one of those evenings where it might be more fun to stay out and not with the glow-in-the-dark radios. Thanks, Robert, who started out, SWL31 mentioning you started out on the sonar. He called it the Gravel Strainer E. I don't know. Is it because of that speaker grill? What would you... That's funny. He loved it, though, but it probably sounded just as good as yours did back in the day. Also, the Night kit. You occasionally get the Night. Is it the 25-something? It's a Night 25-something is a designator. SSB tube in the 60s. Thanks, Robert, and thanks, Paul, the Old Tube Radio Network. We are at 9:30. That's a good time to find the jingle singers, and they can tell us this.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz.
your dial. That's
Channel 11, Old Tube Radio,
in wonderful.
Fresno, California.
And also, Paul, if you're still listening, Stan SWL71 mentioning that he still has a Model E, used it in their delivery truck. It looks like, it's one of those classic tube radio styles. And again, in the early 60s, I mean, 58, 59, 60, the radios were sort of built as per the FCC specs that this was supposed to be a citizens communication where you're talking to stations or to radios in your same license class, base to Unit 2. So you need a mobile and a base. You weren't talking cross town for communications, hobby, idle, chit-chat, whatever the FCC called it. So a lot of these radios obviously were set to go base mobile at the same time. So when you see those ads with the delivery people, they actually didn't. Stan telling us that that's what they used on their delivery truck. He says you can build an external S meter. The diagram is in Sam's number 2. What is was that a meter that... Let's go back to that. Yeah, there it is. It's got the sonars. I wonder if that's actually... Let me pop up the video again. Now that Stan mentioned it, and we didn't really talk about it when it was in the shot. And Cliff... Too bad Cliff's not here. He could tell us about it. Signal strength. So there is a meter in a box. The wire goes somewhere. Stan was saying you could build the external S meter, so that's what it looks like what it's got. And Sam's 4, they changed the mixer. Antique 377 on Facebook. Oh, okay. I have to see if I can find that. All right, enough of me chattering, talking about the Sonar Model E. Back when you could do some modifications, like an old car, right? You could... Put those moon hubcaps on and modify it any way you want. Looking for Radio 5 on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Hey, Dennis.
Hello, Radio. Yeah, how many days have we had over 100 here in the Central Valley? Are we on 25, 26? We might hit 30. We've already broken a record, as it were, for consecutive days 100 or over. That typically happens in July, where we get 14 or 15. I think we are approaching, we're heading up to 30. So after about 3 weeks of this, I can't imagine that a lot of our operators are just wanting to jump into the radio room. They're probably splayed out on the lawn or by the swimming pool or, in front of the window fan, something. We understand.
I definitely, I'm in that bunch. But I am going to, instead of a barbecue, I'm going to go ahead and be working this hot vacuum tube machine. Greetings. How about a tube radio from the Radio Lounge?
Sounds good. You'll be Radio 5. Step up into the air chair. And whatever you're on is really loud and sounds great.
Oh, good. Well, for your listening pleasure, I've got my Robin T123 with a D104. I haven't been able to say that for quite some time.
Wow, that is the perfect mic. I know you're not a loud talker by choice, but this setup allows you to not have to worry about that. It's just really nice audio. I'm trying to get this picture lined up here so that people can see what you're talking on and what we're talking about, the Robin T123, which is the radio with the magic eye, which I imagine is doing a great dance for you tonight.
Yeah, it sure is. It's the Robin T123 with the oh gosh, I always forget these things. It's not the 6ME5. I think this is the 6RE13 Magic Eye tube. I don't know. Maybe you could tell me if I'm right or wrong on that. But it's pretty cool. It's a 23-channel radio, of course, and the Magic Eye tube was the feature that drew me to it. I did have to do a little bit of adjusting to the microphone, which, first of all, had issues. I think this microphone has been out of line for actually over a year now. The female plug for that basically connects the head of the mic to the main shaft of the microphone. That sucker was not happy. I think it was in a few thousand pieces. But Dr. Harvey came over and worked his magic, and that in itself is a whole topic. It's boy, what a pleasure it is to watch him wave his magic wand or magic soldering iron over these things. But anyways, he got the microphone up and running again. I did have to turn the microphone down a little bit. I had the radio on a couple nights ago, and every time I keyed this D104 up, the Magic Eye tube basically just stayed on all the way. So I backed it down a little bit, and so it's surprising that you'd say that the audio is okay. I'm definitely not screaming into it like I would be doing on a Gonzit G11, but the Magic Eye tube is definitely highly active right now. Thanks not the least of which goes to Harvey for getting this 104 back and running. Thank you, Harvey.
Yeah, Harvey should be out there later. I'm just not used to hearing you so loud with talking in your normal demeanor. You know, I can tell when you're shouting into the into the other microphone to make it work. It's just this, you're so relaxed and you're so loud. So you have it set up great, perfect for DX. And of course, we're archiving if you want to listen in later on. Robin T123. Well, I was going to say if the Magic Eye is just totally peaking, the little peaks are touching, then that might be an indication that you've got an oscillation or a squeal going on, or it's just hearing too much background noise. I believe you are correct. The 6RE13 is the tube, and instead of looking down in the top of the tube, we are looking directly into the side of the tube. Is what in that it's probably displayed. That should be interesting if you ever take the case off. That tube is set up in the front of the radio, and it's got the little bezel cut out, so you're actually looking at the tube as it performs its little dance.
Yeah, and I think there's actually even like a little plastic, not a filament, but a plastic film in between the front of the face of the radio and the tube itself, I think. So there might be some sort of color change going on there. I'll have to open that up again. It's been a few years since I've peeked inside there.
Yeah, I know that key down. I don't have a good picture. I was going to swap her to 6RE. Well, no, here's a whole. Let me see if that will work. This may or may not work, but I'll try and swap over to an image for some 6RE13s. Whoa. Oh, there they are. All right. All in a row. There you go. There's the tube, and you look through the front of the tube, and it looks like they're in various modes of audio input. It's hard to say. These have the greenish blue. I don't see anything in front of them. I'm not sure what this device is that we're looking at, but that's the tube. Give us another transmission.
Okay. Well, that Robin is definitely a fun radio to check in, as is this Browning R27S23 with no Magic Eye tube, twice as many knobs, weighs a heck of a lot more, no amplified mic, but I guess we do have more incandescent bulbs going on, so there it is. Plus this thing makes the awesome squeal. No Magic Eye tube, but decent squeal. How's that sound?
It sounds great. I always know when I talk long enough so that someone can change radios. Robin T123, Radio 5, and now with Radio 6, which he will tell us about, and I'll get a picture of that as well. I want to wave a hand to Mr. Timtron, up in the Pacific Northwest. We have been there. The Old True Radio Network has been there, just barely beaconing in. Tim's got a YouTube video of us wafting into his very nice Yaesu receiver. Barely. I don't think it's going to happen tonight. We haven't heard much in the way of DX. Speaking of DX, Radio 6, tell us about where the coax is now connected. Mike, over.
It was connected to position number 2 on the antenna selector. I have this all organized in chronological order. So position 1 is the first tube radio I ever got. Position 2 was for the radio that you just heard, the Browning R27S23. I'm not in position 2 anymore. I went back to a Magic Eye tube for position number 3 at Gonda G11.
Boy, you're keeping Net Control busy here tonight. So Radio 6 is what we're seeing right now, and that is the Browning R27S23, and I will expedite over to Radio 7, which is what we'll be hearing, I think. I don't know what we'll be hearing when Mike geeks up the next time. And the training worked well in the Robin T123. You are out loud and clear. I don't know if you're having to shout too much on the Gonset, but your audio is nice and loud and perfect. Over.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, you definitely do have to scream into this one. I have really no clue what I sound like. I don't think I've ever heard a recording of myself on this radio, but yeah, we did switch from the Browning to the Gonda. There's something about this radio, and I can't tell you what it is. It's definitely the smallest of the collection. Literally, you can carry this thing around with you. I don't know if anyone was doing it back in the 80s when they were carrying their boom boxes around. You can definitely carry this one around. It's not going to break your back. One-piece radio, one channel as well. This one Oh gosh, I always have to stop and think. This one on the front of it, this Gunza G11, on the bottom half of the face of the radio, it's painted, and there is a little area that says channel, and then it's kind of blank, and another one that says frequency, and that's blank. It says channel 11. Someone stamped a 1-1 underneath where it says channel. It says channel 11, and then for the frequency, it says 27.115. So somewhere, I think we kind of came up to the conclusion that it was in Canada, or I don't know, somewhere channel 11 is 27.115. However, at some point in time, I guess in that same country, they pulled that crystal out and put in a crystal, I think, for their channel 8. Which in this particular case is 27085. I know that it's their channel 8 because they what's the old labeling tape in the 60s? Someone said diamond tap or something like that. I don't know. But it's got a cool little label maker from the 60s stamp on there, or sticker on there that says channel. Is it channel 8? It is channel 8. So there it is. It does have a Magic Eye tube. I don't have as much faith in this one as I do the 6 or E13 on the Robin. I think that's a little more easy to tell what's going on with your audio. This one, what is it? I think it's a 675. You're not looking at the tube sideways like on the Robin. You're looking at the top of the radio. And it's kind of illuminating. If you really scream into it, it's kind of illuminating like a Pac-Man opening and closing its mouth. So it's moving around. I feel really obnoxious, really uncomfortable speaking this loudly, but it is making the Magic Eye tube do something. So hopefully it's getting out there.
Sounds great. Getting out well here at the Old Tube Radio Network. That style of tube is the one I'm used to seeing on, whether it's a centering meter on an FM, like a Zenith radio. Used to have an audio reel-to-reel tape deck that used that for your audio. So that's a standard tube. And I think on the Old Tube Radio Network, if you look up to our audio control button at oldtuberadio.net, if you're listening at the top of the page, you will see the audio controls. If you click on that, you will bring up maybe the OTR magnetophone box, but we have a sort of style of Magic Eye tube that way. Audio is really good, and since this was one of the first radios that kicked off the Class D service from Gonset, I think there are rumors that might have even been advertised in a QST magazine in 1958. Maybe they hadn't quite figured out where the channels were, what frequencies were supposed to be what, and so they got things a little bit mixed up back in the first days. But this reminds me of like the E.F. Johnson, the Viking, just the Messenger one, where it's, again, this is not supposed to be technical. You're not supposed to be DXing with it. You're supposed to turn it on to make a contact to base to unit 2. So you don't need a lot of bells and whistles, something to tell you that you're talking, and a light and an on-off switch, right? And you'll be on the air in 1958, or in this case, 2018. It's doing a good job. Over.
Oh, good. Thank you. On that particular radio, I think it was kind of cool. I don't know how many other radios were offered like this, but I think that one came in one of three basic flavors. The one I was using is, well, like I said, it's a Gonset G11, and it's a 3303, and I guess that just means that it's set up to run on 110 AC. I do know that there were at least two other models. I can't remember if it was a 3304 and 3305, something like that. I could look that up, but there were two other radios. One was set up to work on 12 volts DC. There's actually also a 6-volt DC version too. But this one, it's a 3303. I know that because I do have the original cardboard box for it. And on the side of the box, it's kind of got a little check mark next to the version it is. I don't have a cardboard box for this particular radio that I'm on right now, and I feel bad. I have been using up a lot of airtime here. This is not the G11 from Gods that you're listening to. It's the Robin T123 Bravo. No match guide tubes. There's a semi-enjoyable modulation lamp to look at right now. Hello. Yeah, it's sort of, it's dancing around a little bit. But not necessarily as entertaining as a ginormous on-the-air lamp from a Browning radio or a match guide tube. But it's hopefully it's getting out there.
Getting out well. A friend of mine, W6PSS, a guy I used to talk to on 75 meters, 40 meters AM. He's great, an AM boat anchor guy. And he always used to come up with this phrase. He used to call everybody rascals. He said, "You rascal." And that's, I'm gonna steal that phrase and say that to you. I'm gonna say, "You rascal." It's like, I'm down writing a radio, and it's like, wait a minute, he changed the radio again. And so I'm writing the new one. So there you go. You're in the company of great AM. That's the great AM transmitter. When you can key down and be a radio rascal. Robin T123B. That's the photo we have now. Out of the lot, let's see, the Browning, the Gonset, the other Robin. This is the newest of those radios. This was produced until 1976. Again, good audio. This has a little bit more mellow sound to it. It's still plenty loud. All your radios tonight very well modulated. And you've done. I don't know if you rehearsed this all week, but the performance is going well. Over.
Oh, good. No, I have not rehearsed it. This one is a little more forgiving if you're going to try and pull a stunt like this. And if you call this a stunt, by the way, I think you're in for a treat at some point in time, because I hear through the grapevine that there's someone much more talented and gifted at quick changes before radios, and I think this person might have one or two more radios than I have available in my shack. But this one, I think, it's a little more forgiving for doing what I was doing, in that it's got an instant on feature. This radio is definitely not going to be an Energy Star rated appliance. The radio itself can be turned off. But there's definitely voltage going through part of the radio, so that you don't have to flip the radio on if you want to chat, and give it a few minutes to warm up. I know we've talked a couple times about where the power is going and where it's not, but when in the rare situation where I do try and do these quick changes, you definitely got to be careful that you're not overloading some other radio that you're not trying to use at that given time. But this one, I've never had any strange issues just because of that instant on feature. I know that if you're trying to do the quick change, you can manipulate the volume levels on the radios that you're not using. But this one definitely takes the guesswork out of what you're trying to do. This particular radio is. I think everyone does sound a little bit more mellow on my receive. Now the transmit might be a little more mellow than the other Robin, because this is the stock non-amplified Robin microphone. It looks pretty cool. The plastic still looks super shiny and brand new. But other than that, it's a fun radio to use. The whole thing looks spectacular. I'd say that this is probably the newest looking radio in my collection, at least the least abused looking radio. No cat urine on this particular one. I can't say that about all the radios in my collection, but hey, there it is. 37.
There it is, sounding good. Cat urine or no, but this is the Panasonic clone, the import radio, 1972 to 76. The great seller and really nice. Again, we talked about that's the only reason they had to stop making them or changed to making them is they ran out of the, went to 40 channels and had something new. 11 tubes. There's an operator's manual for this unit and a schematic for this unit at oldtuberadio.com. There's a couple of transistors and they're thrown in for good measure. And breaker acknowledged. We're talking with Mike, who's on Radio 8. Good audio all the way around tonight. At no point did the SWLs, the videos, watch me put my hands to my headphoniums as I was trying to hear you, or did I ask you to? You know, if you step to the microphone, it's perfect. In a 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row on your rascally radio items of interest. We'll go back to you for transmission. We'll pick up the breaking station, and I'm sure there will be some others. We will, like I said, we'll stay on overtime tonight to get everybody in since we started a little bit late. The Robin T123B, a very popular seller for them, and you can definitely hear why. With a little effort, it sounds absolutely marvelous. 12-volt DC or 115-volt AC. 17 pounds of fun. Back to you.
Okay, and Chris, I'm so sorry, I'm yapping so much here. What was I? So I think the last time I had this radio on the air, it was actually cutting out. It was really, really bizarre. I forgot that this was one of the issues that we had to fix over here. This one did have a bad solder in the power cord, or at least the plug on the back of the radio. So I kind of theorized what it was just by looking at it, and Harvey again came by and within 2 nanoseconds had zeroed in on exactly what the problem was. So if you've never had the privilege of watching him work his magic, you really ought to. Anyways, I'm going to cut out of here. I'm so sorry to take up so much time. It'll be fun listening to Chris speak and not hear my own voice. So there it is. Thanks for being out there. Everyone else sounds great. Back to you, sir.
Agreed. This is a great night for my receiver. Everybody's doing a good job. So something in the air, I guess, and doing a good job. Thanks for the 4 in a row. So the way to do it, get in the shack and run through the radios. All interesting and all sounding really nice as well. Thanks for checking in with us. Jingle Singers will be around, but first I want to say hello to SWL37, who has joined us in his radio room, and we'll say hello, Chris. What's going on?
Hello, Dennis. Was that Mike you're talking to?
That is correct. Over.
And good evening, Mike. Nice hearing you too. But anyway, Dennis, I'm check in a different one. Besides, I didn't check it in last time, so I'm checking it in this time. I'm going to check in my G PowerMate, the Jim Marine Products 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark. We're here with the amplified D104 lollipop.
And the D104 putting a few crackles in there, but now it's working, and you've got the modulation meter. This is a good radio to juxtapose up to our prior radio, as I'm doing a little research here, and it's very possible that this radio chassis is very similar. If you took the top off and looked inside, you might find a lot of similarities to our last radio, the T123B. Just a little different layout on the front face panel. So fans of the Jim Marine PowerMate, and there may be a few out there, I know there might be one listening from Utah, are glad that you chose this radio. Back to you.
Well, I haven't checked it in for a while. I guess I didn't squeeze it down hard enough when I first keyed up. But anyway, it seems to be working at this moment here. Let's see. Yeah, well, let's get over here. There it is. Yep. It's showing keying up, and it's swinging that way. Not a whole lot, but it is going to the right.
Hopefully that's the right direction. Looks good on my meter, so I don't think there are any issues that way. Radio number 9. I think we'll get double digits on the radios before we get out of here tonight. You are sounding good, Chris. Thanks for bringing it by.
Thank you, Dennis. And, I'm going to turn another one on, I guess.
And the Old Tube Radio Network, listening to the Jingle Singers, looking for Radio 10.
What are the magic
magic numbers,
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
are the magic letters,
OTR.
right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic
Old Tube Radio.
for you.
Break OTR.
The break OTR. Please proceed, over.
Hey, Dennis. Late check-in, please, 7-0.
Not a problem. We will go to the big board and put in the check-in. And where did I... Oh, I put the SWL list away because we were checking in radios, but let's check in Mark up there in Morgan Canyon. Say hello to him, and thank you for running into the radio room and thinking, oh, it's Saturday night.
Thank you for making me feel whole again. Thanks very much, Dennis. Have a good one.
All right, it's so easy and so simple to make people happy here on the Old Tube Radio Network. We're looking for Radio 10. It's a real quiet night on the frequency, very low static level. I found one of my issues with my static level was some LED floodlights that do some external illumination around here. And I just by chance noticed that when they were turned on, it was like, I'm hearing a little static. So I left them off tonight. I think that has helped my receive out. And everybody else sounding pretty darn good here, looking for Radio 10.
I think everybody went to bed.
Or they're still out by the swimming pool or something.
Sitting there in darn air conditioning. I had to turn my tube radio off. It made it too hot in my garage, so we got her down to 83 now.
All right, but once you get to that point, I mean, you get to 90. What is 91 or 92 with that tube radio going? But I hear you. It's actually 89. Having some roof work done. They're putting some type of coating over the top, and it's actually, without adding insulation, has given me a couple of degrees. So maybe I can start turning on more radios tonight. Teresa, thanks for the good words. SWL 31. Teresa, and I agree with you, mentioning that we have good participation from our audience. We have a great group. This has been going, I think that's why it's been going for so long, because everybody is, it's just like you might have remembered if you were around in the early days of CB, you know, the 5-minute rule and the courtesy and how it's supposed to be. Maybe it has something to do with sitting in front of a tube radio that just, you know, makes you... like, put on your best clothes and behave. I don't know. But we're glad everybody is wanting to do this for so long. So as long as people want to check in radios, we will be out there. Looking for Radio 10. Counting and amounting soon. The Jingle Singers. Looks like they have another item of interest for us, but we'll stand by and see what we can get. OTR.
37.
And 37, hello, Chris. I think you have, I bet I know what you're on because it sounds loud. And you are Radio 10 getting us into double digits. Also, watching in on the video tonight, SWL2, OBP, Kevin, waving a hand. He says, say hello to Chris. And so we'll say hello to Chris as Chris says hello to us on the new radio. Tell us about it.
Well, I
You talking to me there, Dennis? I got a lot of static on this radio, but you talking to me now?
I am talking to you now, over.
Okay, and I'm under hearing. Okay. Anyway, Dennis, I would like to check in my general radio telephone, the Super MC11A. This is the 24-channel version of that one there, and we are running this here with a handheld stock type microphone. Over.
As they say, over. Okay, so I'm hoping that the static you're hearing isn't only on the general radio telephone. I think you said last week it was on all radios. Otherwise, we might suspect that your radio is suspect. How about that, over?
Well, now, some of the other radios, I think they got just a little bit better filtering system in it or something other. Like the general, I can hear you pretty good. On the Kenwood, I usually hear you pretty decent with that one there. Of course, you got all the filters in it and everything. But like I say, I'm on the general right now, and I notice it has a little bit more static than the other ones. First, it's been that way for the last couple of months now. I don't know, there's something new in the neighborhood or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it's enough to irritate you. But I am transmitting anyway, and I do hear once in a while. Now, earlier during the daytimes, it's not too bad. It's just the evening time, and it's AM that bothers me the most. Sideband, no trouble.
Yeah, sideband, you lose that static noise from AM. You also lose a little fidelity as you cut down your bandwidth. So it is what it is. We got to be here in the AM mode, the Angel Music to get the full fidelity, Radio 10, General Radio Telephone, Super MC11A, another. We have a lot of good radios tonight, the Sonar, and some of the other ones that run just great with the stock audio microphoniums. Also, waving a hand, Breaker Broke 23, 390 out there in Port Angeles, Washington, says conditions are starting to open up. And if he puts his ear down to the speaker, he can. Says he's hearing the old Tube Radio Network. Thank you there, Breaker Broke 23, for going the extra mile and having a great receiver. So the band's opening up a little bit. Might be hearing the beacons. It's that summer kind of thing. So we did have some conditions. Give another transmission, Chris. We'll pick up the other. I think another station standing by. See if you can break it into Washington tonight.
Okay, Des. So I got it. I was number 10, right?
You are number 10 with the general radio telephone, over.
Okay, I just checking. All right, Des, thank you. I'm going to get on the other radio where I can hear everybody a lot better. So thank you again, and I'll be back. Listening.
All right, and SWL2, Kevin, Mr. OBP is waving a hand at you from the video side.
20.
And 20, hello, radio.
Okay. The usual Browning Golden Beagle, or T68 from Browning Lavatories, with the stock D104 along with the train, as you can hear, I think. And you can probably hear the train. And you were talking about the Sonar mic earlier, is that correct?
That is correct. Amongst other things, the topic of the Sonar microphone came up with its largesse, and the fact that it sounds pretty cool, and the fact that it has the piece of toast microphone nickname, over.
Hey, Roger. Also, thank you, Mike, for earlier. The Sonar mic is big, but some of the mics, if you look inside, you notice that the cartridge, ceramic or crystal, is smaller than the space that is allotted for it. In other words, it looks like a bigger cartridge should have gone in there. Well, some of the mics came with what I call a carbon telephone, old-style telephone cartridge, one that you have to have a little amplified circuit for. And I have I have 4 of those mics that have the amplified circuit in it. And two of them have a full-size cartridge that goes in it. One came that way in the 3023 that I have, and it's got about, I think, an electrolytic capacitor, a ceramic capacitor, and two resistors, and basically the key-up voltage, the key the relay that they used for the relay is also used to amp the mic circuit. And I didn't know that at first, but then I took it apart, took a look at it. A little bit of trivia, the Pierce Simpson CBD5 that I have, and I think Paul has one, and I forget, guy in Clovis has one, that also uses the same cartridge, but the circuit for amplification is in the radio. So when you look at the mic circuit, you'll notice that it's amped kind of before it goes through the actual mic amplifier tube. It's got this little circuit in there to make the cartridge live. Anyway, that's probably why the mic is so big, because they had to allow for that larger cartridge.
Okay, I like the trivia. I like finding out these things. Just so we know that it's not a mistake. You know, it's a feature, not a failure. And sometimes when you're on the kitchen table trying to design your radio, these things just pop into your head and you think, let's do it this way, because mainly this is the microphone we've got, so let's make it work. Oh boy, today, what happened? Robots build everything today. Nobody thinks about that kind of stuff.
Okay. And, the 6ME5 Magic Eye light is in the Gonset, which is kind of a smaller version of the 6E5 style. 6E5, 6U5, blah, blah, blah. Magic Eye tubes that were in the broadcast band radios, and also in the, I think it's Hallicrafter CB1. The one with the push bar has the big tube in it. But the Gonset, they put that smaller tube in, which you can still get. You can still buy those tubes, even though you think, well, gee, it only kind of went in a few radios, but you can still get a hold of those tubes. Okay, I think Chris is standing by, so I'll hush up for a little bit and stand by.
All right, we'll be counting and mounting. You just got a radio report from Port Angeles, Washington, Harvey. Station saying you're kind of fading in and out, but Breaker Broke 23 is actually hearing parts of this transmission, this broadcast, I'll call it, beaconing through up in Port Angeles, Washington tonight. The Old Tube Radio Network, Real Radio's glowing in the dark. Let's head over to the Jingle Singers. We'll be counting and mounting, and if you need to get in for a check-in, please do it soon.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
Hey, Dennis, real quick.
Go ahead, over.
Was I fading out on the on the internet, or was I fading out actually on the air?
27085, as we have some conditions.
Oh, well, better to fade in and out than not be fading at all. Well, fading in, anyway.
What was the classic song? I don't know who it was by. I want to say it was The Who, but I could be wrong. That came out about the time that most of the radios that we're talking to tonight were new in the box. I hope you all don't fade away. Let's see. SWL 13, Mr. Cobra. Hi, Mike. Michael checked in. Let me click watch the big board, and we'll make it official if I can find out where my check-in box is there. There we go. Lucky number 13 in and accounted for, and that changes my total on page 1. Looking for Radio 12 if it's there.
OTR. Channel 11.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. It's time now for the current OTR totals.
The current and final totals, the Old Tube Radio Network, for, what is the date today? July 28, 2018. We've been doing this a long time. There's a lot of radios checked in. I fully suspect, I don't know who's going to be net control when this happens, and if there'll be a video going, but I fully suspect when we finally check in the millionth radio, that things will stop, and if you're watching the video, you will see balloons coming out of the sky and confetti and all of that. We'll have a big party, and I have no idea where we're at. We might be at 999,000 by now, after 34 years of doing this on Saturday evenings. Hello to our YouTube video people. Thanks for your comments tonight and watching in. Hello to those dialed in on the Universal Media Netweb at oldtuberadio.net. Thanks for your comments and check-ins. And hello to 27085, wherever that may be, whether it's local or as BB23, Breaker Broke 23 in Port Angeles is hearing us kind of wafting in and out occasionally with the conditions. Let's go to the counting and amounting. 11:10 on check-ins on page 1, 16 on page 2, 11 on page 3, and 19 on page 4. Well, if that's 19, I counted wrong, so that should be a total of, oh yeah, no, I didn't. 56. 56 SWLs checking in tonight. Didn't add anybody new. We'll be in week 7 next week of the 8-week roster. Most heard radios. What was our manufacturer of choice tonight? We had a good mix. Nobody running away with anything. And a tie between the Robins at 2 and the Palomars at 2. That's how we started off, the Palomar 71B. Paul going into his collection. He must have a radio room like Jack Benny's vault, where you have to walk downstairs and go through a gatekeeper, and then you get in there, and there's just all these radios from which to choose. Palomar 71B, Radio 1, starting things off. Thanks, Paul. The E.F. Johnson Messenger 223, Louis, talking on his one and only radio. That's so cool. You only have to have one radio to get on the list. You don't have to have a whole bunch. It's fun when you do. And you don't have to have any, really, to get on and chat with us. Next week, we're going to take the suggestion as SWLs check in. If they would like to mention the radio on which they are talking, I will certainly encourage them to do that. See what's out there. It'd be kind of fun. The Palomar Skipper 73C was Radio 3 from Paul. I don't know, Paul. Listen to the archives. I'm not sure which was louder. If one had better audio, you'll probably be the guy to judge that, but they're very similar. The both 71B and the 73C and transmit very similar on the AM sideband radios. Sonar Model E, very loud also, Paul. Their Model E sounding good for Radio 4. Radio 5, the Robin T123 with the microphone. Boy, that is your DX talker radio, Mike, when the conditions are in. You want to see if you can speak 155 miles or better. Try the Robin T123 in its current configuration. Very nice. Radio 6, the Browning R27 S23 by 47 as well. Radio 7, the Gonset G11, and that rascally Michael. Radio 8, stringing them all together with the Robin T123B. Thanks for the 4 in a row. In bowling, that's a good thing. I don't often get 4 strikes in a row. Radio 9, Chris on the Gem Marine Products G-Power Mate, because we didn't hear it last week. That's what he said. I'd have to check the books, but I believe you, Chris. You know better than I do what you do over there in the Radio Shack. Radio 10, Chris on the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A, always loud, always sounding good. And tying it up tonight, the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68, not only heard here in Central California, but beaconing through. The great receiver breaker broke up there in Port Angeles. Waving a hand to all those out there. The Old Tube Radio Network, well, we should be here next Saturday, I hope, 8 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time for your SWLing and Tube radio operating pleasure, thanks to 1986. Thank you. Thank you, OBP. I can never remember, so we're coming on 33 years, something like that. Been doing this a long time. As a informal group. Let me see if there's any other items I need to comment on before we sign out tonight. And I think we're doing good. Thanks to Frodex and ChurchLawrence.com for keeping the Nixie tubes running, and thanks to everybody for your support for these last 33 years. We'll do 33 more. It's fun. Find yourself a radio. Maybe after 66 years, we'll be... it'll be the old transistor. Who knows what will replace this stuff? If everybody's not talking on their portable phones. All right, good night, everybody. The Old Tube Radio Network saying 73. Stay cool, stay warm, wherever you are. Have fun doing it, and be safe. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, Dennis. Good night. Good night.
Dennis?
This is the basic. Dennis, over.
Yeah, I mentioned about the carbon-type cartridge for the sonar mics. The schematic for it is in Sam's PhotoFact 95 for the Sonar FS3023. And on the right side of the schematic, about halfway up, they have a separate little section showing the microphone cartridge with the circuit going to the relay. 3 parts, 2 little resistors and an electrolytic cap, a small one. And I took a picture of it because the book's in my garage, so I went out there and got it. I didn't have it in here. Anyway, I have a picture of it, so if anybody wants it, I could, I guess, send it to them. But it's in book 95. I don't know what page, but it's the Sonar FS3023, and it has that circuit. And that works for all the sonars, the Model E, G, H, 23 and 3023. I don't have a working 2340, so I don't know about that one. But it works in all the sonars that I've got, so. And it amps good because you called it the Baby Buddy radio when I keyed up on it. Okay, let you go. Ovaltine time.
Yeah, sonars are loud without all that, but modify it down. Kevin was saying something. There's if you're running a carbon microphone in or phone to get the sound, there's some type of a bias voltage thing that they do. I don't know if that's similar, but it can work, and it's tried and true. Also, okay, we'll say goodnight to those watching the video We're going to jump out of that and save some save some space on YouTube. Good night.